Do you believe in the existence of extraterrestrials?
Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending on where and when you're watching this broadcast. I'm Thomas Fessler, my friends, and this is Disclosure Tonight. Happy Saturday, December 7th, as Drone Mania takes over the internet. No, it takes over Disclosure Tonight, my friends, because, yes, they've moved from New Jersey heading into New York, Staten Island, for that matter. It's one of those days where we have to go ahead and throw our regular programming to the wind, because you know what? We've got a breaking story here to talk about, folks. We've got 158 people in the chat already because a lot of people want to hear what's going on. And I tell you, we've got at least 14, 15 different clips from the mass media coming out. We've got a lot of fresh information that's come to us on UFO Twitter or UFO X these days, depending on how we call it. Let's go ahead on that note. Let me strike up the drums and welcome in our audience like I usually do. Where did they go? I upgraded the app, and I can't find my drums. They're there. All right, let me turn that down, so I'm not going to blast everyone's ears out. What are drums for anyway? Let me go ahead and see who the heck we have out there. Well, in our audience, our participants, we have Andrew Murphy. Welcome, my friend. Andy W's here along with April R. Coleman. Well, good to see you, April. Christopher Michael, you're new. Corporal Abe, welcome, my friend. Crazy Horse, you're new. Donald Harris, you're new. Eli McGinnis, we got Fita Rodney Least. Good to see you. I think you're kind of new, my friend. Firefly is here along with green tea with lemon. I'll take it with lemon. A little bit of sweet, a little bit of honey too, please. You're new. Gwenda Matthews, you're new. Welcome, my friends. All these great new people in the chat. This is amazing, my friends. We've got John. Good to see you. John Clipper, Cody. A couple more new people. Wow. Liliana Chuna, you're a regular. We got Niles Guy. We got Kelly Brotner, Piercing Blue Eyes. We know you're not in the chat, but we know you're out there somewhere. Kelly. We got Lucky 81 Jewel. Good to see you, my friend, of July, for that matter. Who else we've got popping up? We've got Rough Ready SK is new. Sholto de Puma, you're new. Welcome, my friends. Look at this. Chromosome Cowboy, all these new people coming in here today. Thingamajig popped in along with Wildcat Mahone. Wilsp is new along with Yankee 58. How about that? Look at all these new people in the audience. I absolutely love it. The show is growing, and so is our reach against the community. Remember, share, like, and subscribe, my friends. On that note, let me turn off those drums, and it's that type in the night, friend, to go ahead and welcome in our friends in the back. Let's go ahead and see who we have hanging out with us on the back panel. Remember, the call lines are open. Go ahead and follow that link at the top of the chat. It'll dial you right back into our viewer call-in, my friends. We'd love to have any new people in the back join us. Let's go ahead and see who we have there. Well, coming to us all the way from Bristol, United Kingdom. Let's welcome in our dear friend, Andy W. How's it going, Andy?
Hey, Thomas. Yeah, it's going really well. Survived the storm last night. It's still a bit blowy out there, so I actually thought I saw Mary Poppins earlier on flying along, holding onto her umbrella for dear life.
Oh, there you go.
It was either that or it was old Ethel from down the road, so I haven't worked that one out, but we're going to have a good show tonight.
Thank you very much, Andy. Looking forward to you being here, my friend, and where we're going to go. It looks like Mike is out sick today, man. He has got the, what do you call that stuff? Oh, yeah, walking pneumonia. Yeah, he's got it in the nose. He's got it in the chest. It's flowing out every orifice he's got. He's not feeling the best today, my friend.
Yeah, get well soon, Mike. Yeah, miss you here.
Yeah, I miss you. Yeah. Not that close. Not that we want to give him a hug.
But yeah, we'll do a bit of social distancing.
He's on the East Coast, and I like it that way right now.
I've got pretty good social distancing. He's only about 4,000 miles away.
There you go, my friend. Well, let's go ahead and take a look who we have here. Let's flip our sights on Southeast Asia. Our dear friend Corporal Abe, all the way from Thailand, where the city never sleeps, my friend. In Bangkok, I think, for that matter.
That's right.
Corporal Abe, how you doing?
Good morning, guys. How you doing? Sun's not even up here. Happy holidays back home. Miss you guys. Love you guys. I'm barely awake, but I'm here for it.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate you coming in today, Abe, getting up bright and early for today's show. Thank you very much. It's always a wonderful time to have a veteran here with us. Also coming to us, let's go ahead and put our sights on that great state called Ohio. We got our dear friend Matt Ramone coming in from near Palestine, Ohio. How's it going, Matt?
How's it going, Thomas? Been a while. I've been busy, crazy, working schedule,
Yeah.
And the holidays and everything. So it's good to be here for a little while, and I appreciate it. Been watching the show a lot, and I'm enjoying all the new news. It's great.
Yeah. And you know what? You actually did go ahead and share a picture before the show started. I want to go ahead and bring this up, folks. We have a elf on the shelf who is in the process of getting abducted. This is something that probably Matt found on Facebook land, but yes, it goes along with today's episode of there are things in the sky that we don't know what's going on. Thank you very much for sharing that today, my friend.
No problem. Let's see if the government talks about elf on a shelf being abducted today.
There you go, my friend. There you go. Let's see if we take our sights and put it on Auburn, Washington, a dear friend of ours. Let's see if he says hello. Hey, Nick, how you doing? Maybe not.
It's going good, Thomas. Yes, I like how's everyone doing? Good.
Thank you for coming in today, Nick, and thanks for responding. Appreciate you being here as always. All right. On that note, well, it looks like it happened. The earth shook. The nasal passages cleared.
Oh, Mike is here. Hello, Mike.
One more time. That's right. Mike, Disclosure. How the hell you doing? Well, he's here. I think he's here in spirit, at least, if not snotty spirit. All right. When his nose clears and he can speak up, hopefully he will. We'll go ahead and welcome Mike in. Well, to go ahead and get to what we're talking about today, yeah, there have been drones that have been seen over New Jersey, across the seashore, and down to New York, it appears, down to Staten Island. Interesting sights, to say the least. We've got a bunch of news stories to jump in here today. It's very interesting for what's going on in this situation with the drones that has been going on and continuing. Let's see if I've got this one here. That's 29 seconds. All right. We have a story to start off our day coming from NBC in New York. Let me go ahead and get this clip up here. We got a high resolution copy for us to go ahead and watch. Much better than the one on Twitter. So let's go ahead and bring this up and start off our story today. You know, we've got some high-resolution pictures. We got a lot of interesting information from people on Twitter. There are a lot of boots on the ground going out to try ahead and figure out what's going in the skies. What are we seeing on a regular basis? More importantly, as talking with Alan Levine earlier today, what did Alan? Oh God, what did he say? There was a bunch of things he said. Oh, where is this at? Alan said a bunch of stuff. Yes, what we're dealing with in the skies over our cities, as Alan would say, they are not hobbyists. They're car-sized. They're not a DIY drone. They would cost thousands of dollars in parts alone, and no one is building anything this large. The current prevailing thought is these are foreign adversaries testing American defense and tolerance for incursions. It's another ridiculous premise. Clearly, after weeks of incursions all over the world, these incursions have already demonstrated that there are no serious air defenses and that you don't need $1 billion hypersonic missile to take a military base and bring it to its needs. Because remember, we've been covering the situation going on in New Jersey since the 18th of November. Yes, it's been almost a month. We're one of the first live streams out there to be covering this issue back at the date. I was talking with Mike Morris earlier late last night saying, hey, when did we first start covering this? Yes, it was November 18th. It's amazing. And what we've got going here is we have drones that are coming in with impunity. Flying over our cities, flying over our boroughs, our neighborhoods. More importantly, they've been flying over some of the biggest freshwater reservoirs that are in the New York tri-state area. Yes, some of the ones that actually are like 2,000 feet deep, whatever it is. They're huge, probably not, but that deep. But 2000 something comes to mind. But either way, it's a troubling situation where the United States government does not have an ability to go ahead. I'm reading the chat. Yes, Nigel, thank you very much. No, we're not going to show you any more of that Lagan's video. Yes, it's not. Mike, are you there? They saw the video I sent you yesterday, and they want to see all of it. I can't show that.
No, maybe.
And it wasn't a striptease. No, it was someone who was going and putting on these leggings where it was clearly a woman had lost a lot of weight. But when she puts on the leggings, it's like the big booty, the whole thing, the whole package looks there. But when the leggings come off, oh my goodness, sorry.
Oh yeah, it's a nightmare.
Yeah,
exactly.
And you had to say, "Hey Thomas, go to the DMs I've sent you."
Oh yeah. Plus, you flashed it on the screen during the live show yesterday. So.
I know. That's why our audience is bringing it up, and that's why our audience right now is already throwing in a $5 super chat. Thank you very much, Nigel. It's a £5 super chat, which is like $6 American.
Yeah, I didn't acknowledge it when that accidentally.
Oh yes,
happened,
you did. You laughed on that one, my friend, when it popped up.
I was laughing. Yeah, it did. That's pretty funny. Well, we're serious about not being serious here.
Yeah. How you holding up? You're sounding a bit more clear. Did you double dose on the Sudafed?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it seems to be working. Something is better than nothing.
Oh, absolutely. Now let's go ahead and we got our first video story coming up here about drone concerns on Staten Island. That's not far from you, is it, Mike?
No, it really isn't. I'm familiar with the area.
All right, let's go ahead and take down that wonderful super chat. Thank you very much, Nigel. I appreciate you going ahead and call me out on that one. I knew someone would see it. I knew it. Especially since you laughed about it. Let's go ahead and get this clip up here. Let's go ahead and play this video full. All right, folks, here we go.
You know, we've been reporting on these mysterious drones, and it's led elected officials to take action on Staten Island.
Yeah, a letter was sent to the FBI requesting flight restrictions over the entire borough. Their complaints join others in New Jersey, where people are still questioning where the drones are coming from. News 4's Jen Maxfield covering this today. She's live in Wharton, New Jersey, with what she's learned. Jen?
And David and Natalie, we are here in Morris County, just a couple miles away from the Picatinny Arsenal. That is a military manufacturing and research facility. And look, people who live in this area are accustomed to equipment testing here, but residents tell us what they have been seeing in the skies this week is like nothing they have ever seen before. On Tuesday night at around 8 p.m., Phil Doyle and his wife Maureen went out on their back patio when they heard buzzing overhead. He says they saw dozens of flying objects believed to be drones, which have now been reported in 8 northern and central New Jersey counties starting the week before Thanksgiving. This video was taken in their backyard. Now that is less than 5 miles from the Picatinny Arsenal, a U.S. Army base. The Doyles, who live in Oak Ridge, say they saw dozens of these objects believed to be drones coming from the direction of Picatinny and heading northwest.
One goes over and another comes by, so it's not like 2 or 3 a night. It's probably 30 or 50 a night.
30 to 50 drones flying overhead.
Yeah, and they have lights on them, so you can follow them in the sky.
What do you think of the government response so far?
Yeah, it's typical of the government. You know, they may know, they may not know. So, but a lot of them seem to come from the Picatinny Arsenal area, which is, like you said, just the other side of the hill, and who knows what they're doing.
Well, we checked in with some of those government agencies. Governor Murphy's office said nothing new since yesterday when he said he was in touch with Homeland Security. And the FBI also told us nothing new to report, but they are asking people to send them tips and video. Now, as you mentioned at the top of the story, these drones have also been spotted over Staten Island. Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis saying today that she's asking the FAA to impose a temporary drone flight restriction in the area. Some of her concern there that these drones are flying over the Howland Hook Terminal. That's a container port facility here in New Jersey, obviously flying near Picatinny and also over some reservoirs and rail stations. That leading the Florham Park mayor yesterday to call the presence of these drones nefarious or unlawful. And we are live tonight in Wharton, New Jersey. I'm Jen Maxfield, News 4 New York.
Andy,
we've been reporting on these mysterious drones.
Andy, I
and
see
it's
you have your hand up 1 second. Go ahead and pause this, my friend. What say you?
Yeah, jump in quickly. Yeah, these drone restrictions from stopping people from flying them. You know, we've seen this happen in the UK with well, they've had the NOTAMs for the air pilots, but there's also restrictions on drone flying around the area. These things, up until recently, are still flying. I don't know whether they are today. I've not caught up with local news from Lakenheath area, but I don't think that's going to do a lot of good, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, about the Lakenheath area, we do have Liberty Wings off in the chat right now, and he said it's been raining, it's been low cloud cover, there's been a lot of wind and everything going on, so it sounds like not a lot of stuff has been happening in the Lakenheath, UK area, potentially because of the weather or just because of the low visibility, which means things could be going on, but it's not just evident to the casual observer.
Yep. I'd like to see in the weather we're having, it's not so stormy over that part of the world than it is for me here at the moment. Yeah. But it would be nice to if anything was flying in these kind of winds, and it's not a DJI drone.
No, none of this stuff. I mean, we're talking about things, Andy, that are the size of a car or an SUV, of sizable proportions. We're talking about stuff that sounds like it might have a jet engines as part of it. So we're not talking about your regular off-the-shelf commercial drones. And no one should be worried about that, oh my God, they're going to go ahead and start clamping down on drones in the United States or abroad for that matter. What we're talking about is clearly a breakthrough technology that our U.S. government and military has no ability to go ahead and control or try and bring down.
And also, from the footage of the person there, they see 20 to 30 of these things. Even if they're car-sized drones, there's got to be a pretty big thing to hide something like that, even over in the USA.
Oh gosh, yes, sir.
If they were flying here in the UK, you've only got to go 100 yards, and you've got another conurbation. You've got another small village or something. Finding these things, they've still in the UK not recovered anything or arrested anybody. If we've had the special forces, if we've had the British Army checking out the area, there's no news at the moment of anybody or anything being recovered or apprehended. And I think if they did, they would be shouting it from the rooftops.
Yeah, I would believe so, my friend, if I could. Before I call on Corporal Abe, I want to call a new person into the show who may have something relevant to bring up. Deborah, you have your hand up, my dear lady.
Hi, actually, this is Stephen T. Meir. I broke my phone last night because I was filming the drones.
Gotcha.
I was up in Dover. And I was up in a tree. I got a good look at them with binoculars. The ones I saw, there was a few of them. They were triangle shaped, like the ones that we saw in the UK, with the green and red lights.
Right.
And definitely drones, and they're big. And my only comment would be how this could be a threat is if one of these things ran out of battery power and fell, it would be a heavy weight that would fall on someone that could kill them. I mean, they're big.
But you have to think about this as well, Stephen, is that potentially these things could be carrying some kind of a payload or ordnance or biological concoction along with it that makes it a lot worse than just a bunch of electronics going ahead and falling down.
Yeah. But the bottom line is they're saying that they're not dangerous to the public, even if they weren't having a payload. Just the weight of them to fall would be bad enough. But, I mean, how can the government say this is not a threat? It is a threat.
Well, clearly our government is beyond its wits at this point. They've been having this going on first going on at Langley Air Force Base several months ago, and then we've had them going over New Jersey for almost a month. We've had them in the United Kingdom going on. Clearly, it's a technology that's a breakthrough technology that our United States government doesn't have the technology or the balls to go ahead and take them out of the air.
It's my fear that a foreign adversary like China might be using UFO technology in conjunction with their military technology.
Well, it could be UFO technology, or it's just a general breakthrough technology that's beyond the capabilities of where things are and where we think things are. Remember, we have a lot of slimy people from the military-industrial complex and corporations that are going ahead and trying to sell things for hundreds of millions of dollars to go ahead and say, yes, we've got this piece of technology that you can go ahead and buy today. Why not buy 100 of them, 1,000 of them that you can use to bring down all these drones if it's happening? But the reality of it is, Stephen, none of this stuff is working for him.
No, it ain't.
Yeah. Appreciate that comment.
Yep.
Corporal Abe, you have your hand up, my friend.
Yeah. Hey, Stephen. I'm also from the tri-state area. Great job getting out there and filming them. But that gentleman in the interview, I wanted to say he was a Marine Corps veteran. He had the Eagle Globe and Anchor hat on. And I felt like his description of what he saw was accurate. And that's just what I wanted to say, that he was giving a good description of what he saw.
Yeah, absolutely. And we had some descriptions from people last night that were going ahead and commenting on the craft, and it was former Air Force individuals who are used to spotting aircraft. So depending on what they were saying, the size and everything kind of lines up with what's being seen. Matt Ramon, you have your hand up, my friend.
Yeah, and one of the things that I'm kind of curious about is transportation. To transport these things across lines or across different areas, right? You're not seeing anybody that is taking photographs of trucks with something nefarious on it. You're not seeing any type of transport because, the trucking industry, it's those guys, they see something crazy on a load, they'll take a picture, and there's thousands upon thousands of them in every single country we're talking about, but you do not see any type of transport on roadways or whatever. We're only seeing these videos. So it makes you even wonder more is how are these things getting transported to these different areas, and the areas that they're flying over are military, so are they coming out of those military installment centers or what?
There have been sightings in New Jersey going ahead, Matt, and showing actually that these aircraft are coming in from the ocean. They're not coming out of the ocean, but they're coming in from the general area of the ocean. I'm glad you actually brought this up. If I go ahead and show this is a post coming from Roni Vernat saying yesterday during the mysterious drones nightly drone night in coastal counties in New Jersey and New York, a USAF Black Hawk and a Jolly Green were searching for something about 400 feet from the surface near the coast of Long Island. So this is not normal behavior for our craft in that part of the United States, but it just goes and shows that, it looks like they're coming in from the water. Probably not from a submarine. It could be coming in from a cargo vessel or something else. You never know where it could be happening. Mike, your thoughts?
Yeah, we talked about this, you and I, privately, and we talked about it on the last show. Yeah, they're obviously coming onto these military installations from the coast of the United States. And it's more than likely a cargo ship that's registered to China. And the reason why the United States is not intercepting or intervening on those vessels is because they're also being crewed by Russian nationals. And with the geopolitical state of the world right now, the United States is not looking to escalate tensions between us, Russia, and China. So that's how they're getting them in, and that's how they're getting away with it. And as far as the government's response to this, there is no response.
No.
They're not actively participating in looking into this, and they are just playing it down as much as possible by being silent.
Well, Mike, what it comes down to even more than that, it looks like the United States military is almost, from the public's perspective, is given up because they say we can't bring these things down. The technology is there. We don't know what these things are. Yet they're flying with impunity like these drones, whatever it is coming in out of the ocean, is coming in with complete impunity against our abilities to go ahead and bring these things down. It's a troubling situation. Matt, I know you've got your hand up on this one, but before we bring in, I want to go ahead. We've got a news clip here from Fox and Friends talking about a former FBI official issues a chilling warning on U.S. airspace after the drones have been sighted and unable to be brought down. Let me go ahead and play this clip, and let's get to it, folks.
The FBI now investigating those mysterious drones flying around New Jersey over the past month. They've been spotted hovering over military facilities, water reservoirs, and even at Trump's Bedminster golf course. But Governor Phil Murphy says there is no known threat to the public. Chris Swecker is a former assistant FBI director, and he joins me now. Chris, how has this been allowed to go on for the better part of a month, especially within that month? Donald Trump won an election. He has a property there at Bedminster, and these drones are apparently flying over that. That seems like a huge violation of everything that the Secret Service says it wants to change. So how is this still allowed to go on?
Yeah, it certainly does. It's perplexing, and I don't understand why. I mean, citizens have been reporting this for quite a while, since November 22nd. So I just hope that the FBI, which is probably the lead agency in this, has actually been working this for quite a while. But that wouldn't explain why the drones just keep on coming. Secret Service, there's an issue there, of course, with the golf course. Whether Trump is there at the time the drones were there would be a significant issue. But I think it's mainly a counterintelligence issue that needs to be resolved. First and foremost, there's an arsenal there, a military arsenal there, where a considerable amount of research takes place on small arms and explosives. It's a very important facility, Army facility. And, you know, we know how aggressive the Chinese have been over the last few years with the balloons. So I'm interested in hearing more about these drones and why they're not doing something to stop it.
I believe I asked you this question months ago when the Chinese spy balloon, like you mentioned, was flying. So I'll ask it again. Is it safe to say that our airspace is, quite frankly, not secure, even though I think the average American always just assumed that the space above them in the air was secure?
I think you're right. It's that assumption that probably causes a lot of people not to report. But I think our airspace is the Wild West. It's supposed to be controlled by the FAA. It's actually illegal for someone to actually shoot down a drone, which is considered an aircraft. So, you know, you can't take matters into your own hands. But I would encourage the public up in New Jersey or anywhere else, when they see a drone that shouldn't be there, or there are several zones that seem to be working together, to report it. It could be a cyber issue as well. They could be hacking from a drone, which if you read up on it, it's either a criminal threat where they're trying to do it for criminal purposes to commit fraud, or they're just generally disrupting things.
So many questions unanswered. We need answers for this, because this just can't happen. Meantime, Acting Secret Service Director Ronald Rowe testimony on Capitol Hill yesterday went off the rails when Congressman Pat Fallon accused Rowe of putting Secret Service agents out of position in order so that he could sit next to President Biden during the 9/11 memorial service.
All right, let's go ahead and jump out of the political news for that matter. It's an interesting situation to go ahead and get into here, Mike. I mean, this is like right in your backyard. Do you think with the former FBI representative aligns with your concerns? I mean, it sounds like clearly we've got technology that's operating with impunity over the East Coast.
So it is, and the point you just made earlier about it seems like the military has given up on this. Let's remind our audience that over the Langley, Virginia Air Force Base, where they had these drone incursions for 2 weeks in a row, they gave up because they had to evacuate all of the assets out of Langley and bring them down to Oceana Naval Air Base.
What you're talking about is assets. You're talking about their full fleet of F-35s that they had operating on Langley, and they had to move them to Oceana, right?
Correct. That's exactly right. Which means not only are they not being proactive about defending their own airspace, they're retreating and leaving because of these drone incursions, which is a very telling sign of what type of technology this may represent and how our current technology in this country, at least as far as the military is concerned, they're unable to deal with this and they're retreating. That is not a good sign, and they're not talking about it publicly. We're covering it, but it's something that is not getting any better. It's getting worse. These incursions are happening more frequently, and there's no response from the federal government on this.
No.
Basically, we're left on our own to try to figure this out and deal with it.
We've had the same thing going on at Langley, then we had it at Lakenheath and Milford and all these different places with the United Kingdom, and then we've had the same stuff going on. Probably started about the same time in New Jersey as it did over in the United Kingdom, but it's not coming to an end. It's continuing night after night after night.
Well, look, let's say you had some technological breakthrough, and you're using a platform that is operating with impunity.
Right.
And you have that type of an advantage. Would you decide to cease operations? I don't think so.
Oh, heck no. If it's effective and it's getting there, because truly what's going on is they're going and scoping out sites. They're going out scoping out sites of military sites. They're scoping out sites of critical infrastructure like the drinking water for the tri-state area. That would be a huge impact if that got poisoned or something else was added into it, biological agent or whatever. They're going out there, they're operating, as I will say again many times, with impunity. There's no ability for us to stop them. It's not like they're in Ukraine and they're trying to shoot these things down. Our military is like, oh my God, we can't shoot this stuff down. If we did that, something bad could potentially go wrong. Why has, I hate to say it, Mike, our military become so weak? Passive, well, yes. Passive and weak. Where's the military? Where's the fight in the military where they're saying you're coming on our classified areas, you're going over our sites, you're preventing this stuff from going on, and we're going to stop you. It's like the United States is afraid to do anything. When has the United States been afraid?
They haven't. But now here's the thing. It's an indication and a strong sign that there's something going on behind the scenes that they don't want us, the public, or anybody else to know about.
Yeah.
And as a result of
there's
that...
There's nothing to worry about here. Move along.
Right. Nothing to see. Move along. Sounds like Sean Kirkpatrick again.
Oh, no, Mike. I think that I have an audio clip coming from our friends at the Pentagon telling us what they found.
We ain't found shit!
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Sorry about the volume on that one, folks. I saw it peaked. It was too late when it came in. But that's the truth and what we're dealing with. Getting into the truth of what we're talking about, Mike, let me go ahead and cut into this one. We've got a video clip coming in from Fox 29. That's a local channel to your area. Going ahead, talking about large drones flying over New Jersey. Let's go ahead and bring this clip up and play it, and then we'll talk about it. Here we go.
Developing tonight, New Jersey making headlines this week with reports of large drones flying over parts of the state. The latest reports coming from Evesham Township in Burlington County. Residents there have their eyes to the sky with concern. Our Steve Keeley went looking for answers.
They're big. Like I saw a couple last night, which were very large.
Drone sightings like this one that started in North Jersey have now spread to South Jersey.
Last night around 8 o'clock, we got reports of residents seeing drone activity in the area.
The latest over Evesham, and those were big too, the police here saw.
Police went out, were able to observe some of them. We looked like there was reports of between 4 to 8 drones. They weren't like the typical types of drones you would think of, like a hobbyist that goes up and takes pictures of whatever. These more look like unmanned aircraft. There's some were as large as like an SUV flying around in the area.
Social media fueled fear has followed many of the drone sightings, and so has legitimate concern from government leaders. Governor Murphy posted that he convened a meeting on the drone activity with senior officials with Homeland Security, State Police, and the state's congressional delegation, and said there is no threat to the public at this time.
We monitored the area just to see.
Yeah, that's what we always hear. They always say there's no threat, but the truth always comes out on that. Let's continue.
See, what they were doing, just to make sure there was no threat, seeing if they were looking at critical infrastructure, and then we monitored them until they continued through town, which they were out of here about 11:15, and then they headed towards Cherry Hill and ultimately towards Philadelphia.
Did it concern you this could be, nefarious activity?
Yeah, I mean, especially with the advanced technology that they seem to have. They're not like most drones. They're within sight. These are obviously obviously being controlled somewhere else. And there's obviously a purpose they're up flying.
Could you find out who was controlling them and where they were?
We're working on that. So we're working with the state police through the Regional Operations Center and ultimately with the federal authorities, FAA, FBI.
I checked like a flight tracker app, and there's no planes in the area. You see these things go by, and they're big.
If something that massive came down into a populated area, it would be problematic. But it didn't. I mean, it was very windy last night. The size of these and the technology with them, they didn't seem to be affected by the wind. They were varying altitudes. They said sometimes as low as 100 feet, other times as high as 2,000 feet.
In Evesham Township, Steve Keeley, Fox 29 News.
There you go. Another interesting story
tonight,
regarding what's been going on in the skies over the East Coast, and it just continues and continues. It's just something we're going to have to continue to look at to figure out what's going on, what's happening. It's an evolving situation, but really quick, if I could, before we go any farther, would you look at that? We have over 1,200 people watching the show right now and only 176 likes. If you're having a good time, do us a favor, folks, give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down. We'll take one or the other. Why am I asking? Because the more interactivity we have on this show, the more that we actually get shared by YouTube and their algorithm. More importantly, if you haven't subscribed to Disclosure Tonight yet, do us a favor, hit that subscribe button. We'd love to have you back here as a regular on the show. It's the only ability we get to go ahead and ask you to go ahead and be a member of our show. Because, Mike, don't we have a double your back money guarantee on people who, if they subscribe, don't like the show?
We do. If they're not happy, we give you a double your money back guarantee on you subscribing. And if you follow and subscribe us to this channel, and it's the only platform and channel out there where you can also interact with us directly live during the show and ask questions. It doesn't cost anything, and we keep you up to date on all the current stories and news that Thomas and I investigate and bring out to the audience. So,
exactly.
Yeah,
we appreciate that. This is our only chance to be able to ask to go ahead and help us to get there. We appreciate your love and support of everything we do here at Disclosure Tonight. Let's go ahead and jump on to our next story. Coming to us from CBS News in Philadelphia, talking about the mysterious drone sightings in New Jersey. Someone described the drones as being the size of an SUV. Let's go ahead and get to this next story and continue on.
Seeing in this video, which may be a little difficult to make out, is the talk of several towns in South Jersey. Police say multiple sightings of drones were reported in Burlington and Camden counties last night. Now federal authorities have joined the investigation to determine who they belong to. New Jersey reporter Ryan Hughes is in Marlton right now with the very latest. Ryan.
AC Alpha, good afternoon to you. This is the area where police say those drones were first spotted last night. We're near Marlton Parkway and Evans Road, and we're told those drones were flying over neighborhoods like this one, as well as highways, and now investigators are looking into what exactly they were looking at and why.
We've been seeing this drone. It's circling.
That's Troy McNair's voice. He says he recorded this video Thursday night from his home in Clementon after his girlfriend saw lights flashing outside their window.
It flew by, then it came back, and it just hovered. I said, that's definitely a drone.
We had varying reports of anywhere between 4 to 8 drones that were flying through the area.
Evesham Township Police tell CBS News Philadelphia they fielded several calls from concerned residents around 8 p.m. Thursday after seeing the drones hovering and zipping through the air for about 3 hours.
Some were described as large as like an SUV, had blinking lights on them.
That just says to the amount of electronics that could be on board, the amount of recording information they can get.
Evesham Township Police say the mysterious drones were also spotted over Cherry Hill, Medford, and Mount Laurel. The FBI and New Jersey State Police are now investigating who the drones belong to and why they were in the air.
I wouldn't like to know that, they're spying on you, because I don't know how much they can see into your house, things like that.
Evesham Township Police say they're also investigating a possible connection to other drone sightings this week in both North and Central Jersey, after investigators there warned of large drones seen flying over critical infrastructure. McNair calls the unusual activity quite concerning.
Just trying to find out if it's anything nefarious, anything suspicious going on.
And Evesham Township Police tell me they are now also working with the police chiefs from around this area, as well as the FAA and, again, the FBI. They're also asking anyone who may have took photos or videos of those drones in the air last night, let them know they would like to see them as part of their investigation. We are live this afternoon in Evesham Township. Ryan Hughes, CBS News, Philadelphia.
Yeah, that neighborhood you're in is also right by the promenade at Sagemore, which is a very popular shopping destination in that area. Very interesting, Ryan. Thank you so much.
You know, Mike, I haven't seen so many people being interested in what's going on with UFOs or drones in the skies ever. You know, this is the most number of stories that I've been able to go ahead and find in a short period of time to go ahead and to cover the sightings that have been going on. And what's great about this is it's not like we're seeing one video coming out of China where you've got 1.4 billion people, or the 4.1, either way, a lot of people in China. We've got video after video after video corroborating the evidence of what's other people are reporting.
No, that's true. Plus, we also have the only daytime video of these drones. Usually the ones that are out there are at night. I sent it to your DM. Did you get a chance to open it up?
Yeah, I did get that one. Let me go ahead and find that one again here, Mike. I'll bring it up on a different screen here just to get to it. That one is interesting. It's got one on it that looks like, I'll be honest, a Mylar balloon. And there's another one that definitely looks like some kind of a plane or a drone for that matter. Let's see if I can go ahead and bring that up. It's been on my list of things to go ahead and cover here. Let me get to the messages from Mike. Give me a second to go ahead and find it. Oh, X is running slow today. Here we go.
Because everybody's on it right now looking for information about this.
Oh, they got to be. Let me go ahead and download this.
And I also agree with what Governor Murphy said in New Jersey. These drones, they're not here for no reason. They're not spending this coordinated effort, time, money, resources, whatever it is, for absolutely sightseeing. They're here for a purpose.
Oh, yeah. All right, let me go ahead and bring this one up here for you, Mike, since you brought it up to our attention. Let's go ahead and show this. We've got a video here showing something that, as it moves through the sky, looks like... let me bloom that up a little bit more. Looks similar to a Mylar balloon as it's going through the sky, as it's kind of turning around. At least that's my take at this particular one. It doesn't look like anything more. We're seeing the reflectiveness going on. We're seeing its shape change. You know, like a Mylar, like birthday balloon, Mike. Does that make sense?
Right. No, it does, Thomas. You're right.
So maybe it could be a couple balloons tied together, 2 or 3 balloons tied together as it's going along. But as they're going ahead and moving it, and they're going ahead and recording this, let's see if I can go ahead and find, there should be a little bit further in the video. They're going to go out there. Let me zoom this out to 100% so I can catch it. But there will be one section to where, there we go. Now, what I'm showing here is what they're showing for a second. It looks like it could be a normal plane. So while we're trying to say what we're seeing here is the drones over New York going on, this one here, Mike, has more of the profile of like a 737 or A320, where you've got a typical airliner going with the T-tail in the back, going down with the wings, going down with the fuselage. You can see the 2 wings going across. More importantly, you can see 2 clear areas where the jet engines are at.
Yes, that's right. But it also goes back to your earlier point. It shows you that the general public is so alarmed by this that they are up there with their cameras and their phones. They're shooting anything that moves in the sky above them.
Right. And that comes down to the general thing is 95% of what people record in the sky, right? Is not going to be real. Only 5%, maybe 10%, more like 5% of all the overall sightings that are getting reported are actually real. But of that small percentage, there's a really good pieces of evidence that we've seen getting into here saying, what the heck is this thing that we're actually looking at? But this one here, I have to say it looks more like a traditional aircraft and potentially a Mylar balloon. Now, the thing is, though, the people who are outside of the area of this, they're going to be seeing stuff that's not really real. And they're going to be thinking it's real. But the people who are actually seeing the stuff that's real, they're going to potentially be taken back saying, wait a minute, our real stuff is getting diluted. But isn't that the way everything generally is when people are trying to cite UFOs, including people coming forward in the government?
Yeah, that's true. But also, let me remind you that it doesn't matter if we're talking about UAP or these drones. You have always said publicly to the audience that it really doesn't matter what they're made of or anything like that. The real question is, why are they here? What the hell are they doing here? What is going on? That applies to this as well, right, Thomas?
Yeah, I guess what you're getting into, Mike, is one of the conversations I've had many times as far as we get into, look how fast they are. Look at the shape of the craft. Look what they're doing in the sky, right?
Yeah.
Look, what kind of technology can be involved with that? But the reality is those kind of questions will never be answered by our government because it's highly classified for the military mission, because they want that technology. They want to be able to get the shape-shifting stuff. They want to be able to get the stuff that goes well beyond our technological envelope. But the reality is of a lot of these different things that we're seeing is we need to be coming down and digging into the question of, I don't care about the craft,
the nuts and bolts,
what's going on with it. What the F are they doing here now? Now, that's the real question. I don't care about where they're from, their craft, any of that stuff. The real question I think majority of everybody wants to know is, what are they doing here today? Is that what you're getting at, I think?
That's exactly what I'm getting at. And that applies to these objects in the sky all over the world globally right now as well.
Oh, yeah.
What the hell are they doing here? What's going on?
Exactly. That's the $1 million question, my friend. Now, if I can get into this one here as well, I've got another clip coming from someone who was in the getting off of work in the New York, New Jersey area last night at 2 a.m. And coming out, he had seen a drone that's lights were on. It shut off, but as he brought his camera in and checked it out, there was actually a drone sitting there in the sky hovering with no real lights on. So this is just one of those situations to where some of the drones are out there with their lights on and everything, but other ones are out there with their lights off, which makes you wonder, are some of these craft that we're seeing going ahead and being the distraction, right, for these covert missions that are going on? Because apparently this one was hovering close to a building.
Right. So it's obviously some sort of a coordinated effort. They could be using distractions so people don't pay attention to what's actually going on.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Exactly. Christian Morales, you have your hand up, my friend. Christian?
Hey, can you hear me?
We got you, my friend. Thanks for coming back.
Yeah, man. This whole drone thing's it's fascinating. It's obviously something's not adding up. Now I'm biased. I want this to be UFOs. I admit that, but it doesn't quite fit the behavior of of our foreign adversaries, and also drones. When you fly drones, if you're over restricted airspace, the drone will return to you and land. So the ones at the RAF, for example, that doesn't make any sense that drones can do that unless I guess they're Chinese, but it's been 3 weeks almost now, and it's still happening. I had a friend in Pennsylvania who started seeing stuff, and he's not a believer or nothing. He doesn't know what he saw. New York, New Jersey. I'm wondering if the whole eminent title of Elizondo's book somehow connected to this, because that's, I don't know, man. It seems like something is changing in the behavior of whatever these things are, and they're kind of fucking with us. They actually took even Thanksgiving off. I heard that they didn't even see they've been seeing them every day except on Thanksgiving. What the heck does that
really
mean?
The sightings that I've been tracking here, they've been seen every single day since the 18th of last month, my friend.
Oh, well, maybe you know what? I heard somebody say that. What do they know, right? Honestly, but I did also hear that one of the witnesses that was had one of these things over their car, the clock changed. I don't know if you saw that report, and there was some weirdness with that. So I don't know, man. I don't know what the hell is going on, but it's super interesting. Anyway, I'll listen now.
Thank you very much for coming in, for posing those questions. You bring forward a very relevant situation to say, what are we looking at? What's truly going on? How long it's been happening for? So it's, would you look at that? We've had a special guest coming in. Matt Ramon, go ahead, before I bring in Alan Levine for his thoughts on this.
Yeah, I just had a question. The FAA, is there anything that has been stated or reported out of that area too? And then the UAP reporting, you know how during everything they talked about the UAP reporting and that you can call in. Is there anything that has been actually documented through them, or is there any way to back check anything that's been reported, like from?
I think we're getting more reporting on this coming from state agencies than we're actually getting coming from the federal government. Federal government's just in the area of denial, and that's actually a good segue. I appreciate that question. For Alan, are you with us, my friend?
Yes, thank you. Glad to join this, particularly for this topic, and that's a very good question. All the reports, official reports coming from airports, airplanes, military, everything goes through NORAD ultimately, and that is published annually. Last year there were 600 incursion reports that NORAD published to the American people, but I mean, there are likely many more that were not reported. And I can tell you that people are unfortunately very myopic concerning this. They're focusing on New Jersey, New York, Colorado, etc. This is a worldwide situation right now. Over the last 2 weeks, there have been drone or UAP incursions over not just military bases, but nuclear facilities all over the world. Specifically, Germany, France, Italy, the Netherlands, Pine Gap, Australia, and yes, Russia, China, and India, and Iran. In fact, on one Russian television news report, the swarm of UFOs appeared on camera right as they were recording the news about swarms in Russia. So I really don't believe this is a Chinese operation. I worked with Homeland Security. I was a terrorist liaison. I began the Joint Terrorist Task Force, and right from the inception, I was in Washington, D.C. just days after the 9/11 event. And I can tell you that air incursions are taken very, very seriously, and there's plenty of countermeasures that can be used. I recall one time shortly after 9/11 when a private plane went afoul and got into the airspace over the White House. The entire Capitol Hill was evacuated. The White House was evacuated. They sent jets up to intercept it. If it had just twitched, they would have shot that thing down. They were able to bring it down safely. It was just a guy who overshot Reagan International Airport. But to this day, Washington, D.C. is ringed by ground-to-air missiles to shoot down any adversaries that come in range. And also, you have to understand, this isn't, people aren't just, governments aren't going like, oh, we're going to do Pearl Harbor style, military invasion of the United States East Coast. You're talking, it took us 14 months to plan the invasion of Iraq, and Afghanistan after, that whole thing. Oh, yeah. So it's not something like China woke up one day, hey, we want to show our best drones. First off, drones are not, people have this concept, oh, drones are new. No, Tesla piloted the first drone. It's actually a radio-controlled ship in Central Park in the late 1900s. They've been used in World War I, World War II, the Korean War, Vietnam, Iran, the Iraq War. They're not new. The reason they're so showcased today on the European battlefront is because not because they're high tech, it's because they're low tech easy to make, and there's no fear going after, an Abrams tank. Drone is not going to run away. And you can send off a drone and annihilate that tank with a shape charge, and you're talking hundreds of dollars as opposed to sending human beings in there that won't probably do as well as the drones. So in the past, generals have pridefully said, no, we need manpower, we need humans, we got to send people onto the battlefield. And today they're just going like, maybe you're right. Maybe we could just send, something airborne in there to blow up and get rid of that tank, because we sent 100 men in there, they all got shot down by the tanks, machine guns. So my best and my speculation on this regarding the United States itself, not the worldwide thing we're seeing, because I think they're probably two different things.
Yeah.
But just the United States, if it's anything at all, and people say, oh, it's conspiracy. I think it's a black flag operation to entice us into a larger theater of war in Europe. 7 months ago, Wendy Webb spoke about the hacking of the internet, which we saw Monday.
So you're talking about a blue-on-blue operation, meaning this is operations coming from like the CIA or someone within our government to go ahead and stir things up potentially before power changes, and they could go ahead and create a greater sense for a need for war coming from the current Biden administration.
Absolutely. And the fact that they're not coming out as, we don't want to say it's Chinese because that could start a war. They don't want to say it's Chinese because they know it's not Chinese. People will be asking, what's the proof? We have Space Force, we have NORAD, we have Air Civil Defense, we have the Coast Guard, we have our submarine force, all on the East Coast. Not to mention all the private radar systems. You have airport radar, you have weather radar, you have commercial radar, you even have radar stations at universities to track.
But even, Alan, with our best radar we've got now from the Space Force and from the Air Force, they can track something from the surface of the planet or the surface of the water, from the surface of the water up to beyond the distance of the orbit of the moon, and they can track that forward and backward in time. So it's not like they don't have the abilities to see something. This is the size of a soccer ball, but we're talking about something the size of an SUV, which should be easy for them to track, right?
It is. And what I'm sharing with concerning these other radar stations is they're keeping their mouths shut too, because they're seeing it as well. You're not flying these things all over New Jersey and New York and these very highly populated urban areas without this being picked up on other people's radar. I mean, why haven't they used the Coast Guard's anti-aircraft floodlights to light these things up and figure out what they are? It's because they're told not to.
Right.
Again, my best speculation is, it could be Chinese. And one of these does, explode, Gulf of Tonkin style. The Chinese, those dirty Chinese. Yeah, we need to, we need to preemptively strike them before they strike us, or the Russians, or whoever. But they just sent another, $700 million to Ukraine now in the last couple of days. Going on, and they want us, and you've seen NATO all across NATO. They're going, this is war. This is war. We're in World War III right now. And look, there's drones coming over all our bases, because these are, like I said, Germany, France, Italy. These are all NATO bases. Okay. And they're going, we got drone incursions too. And look at the UK. And, we got 4 bases there. They're being overflowed by drones. Yeah, it's the Russians. They're spying. Why would the Russians need to send these drones over when they have satellites that can literally count the ants on a picnic table? Okay.
Yeah. But Alan, do you think this
learn?
could potentially be a psychological operation to try and sway the public in one way or the other? Either to go ahead and think that, hey, like you're saying, could be from the military, and we're putting this stuff up here one way or the other to say we have no defenses on this. We need to defend it against it. We need to go to war with these people. Is where you're trying to get to.
Well, absolutely. I think they are. Again, I think this is a prelude to a black flag event. One of these will go off over a base, maybe in the UK. Oh, it's the Russians, they attacked a NATO base, war, blah, blah, blah. But I think that's what we're looking at here. Because some of these things, they go, oh, we can't do anything. Well, some of this, now I've seen so many videos, and they're really off the wall. And yeah, some of them do appear, like the triangular type UFOs we've seen in years past, and some of them do look like, the type of orangish red orbs we've seen. But others, you can see they're some type of quadcopter, but large. And you don't have Russian or Chinese gangs fielding something like that in the United States and lifting it off in some rural area and flying it in, and no one knows. Those things are literally tens of thousands. It's not that it's not impossible. When I was in D.C., we scuttled a case where some unfriendly people from another country wanted to fly in a large RC jet. Now, you would call it today, you'd say it's a drone, but it was a friggin' jet, basically about as big as a car. And you could buy these as model kits online. I mean, there are a whole class of hobbyists that build these giant reproductions of fighter jets and stuff, and they have actual miniature jet engines.
Yeah,
and
I've seen some of the drones that have these jet engines, Alan, and it's a clear reality. Now to go ahead and show, I've got a video up here that was taken last night of one of the drones that was out there. You're going to see some stuff kind of going on, but what we're seeing at the top of this drone as it's flying along, there's actually something at the top spinning around. And the person who posted this video, there we go, we can kind of see that little object, the lights kind of spinning at the top. So again, these aren't regular kind of drones that we're seeing. There's morphologies on it that just don't make sense from like a quadcopter or some other kind of object that would be out there. This one came in middle of the night last night when you were talking back and forth with Mike.
I think they're decorating these for plausible deniability.
Right.
You can't look at that and say, oh, that's Chinese or that's Russian or that's American or that's a UAP. They want that that wiggle room.
Right.
To say, well, we don't know what they are. Because if it was, had a Russian star on or Chinese sun, you go, oh, this is definitely Chinese. But you look at it and go, I don't know what the hell that is. They could be a UAP. Yeah. And it scares people, and it probably prevents people from taking shots at it. But I'll tell you right now, you give me a shoulder-launched javelin, and that thing's, going to bite the dirt. There's we don't know how to shoot them down. Well, maybe you should have hung around the Mujahideen a little bit, because they bring those Russian copters down pretty quickly. And something like this that's lit like a Christmas tree, there's no doubt in the world you can bring that darn thing down. It's obviously has an energy source, likely electricity. That's how they light the damn thing up. And if you use one of these EMP guns, you're going to shut that thing down. It's going to fall like a lead brick. But they're not trying. They don't want to do that. And it's not, it'll hit a house. Well, I've seen them over basically the countryside on the coast and in the beach areas and stuff, and it's not going to hit anything. So, yeah, if you do have, I heard one described as big as a 737. It's not that big, and the guy said it was flying at 200 feet above his house. That's that's not normal.
No, it's not. But some of these craft that are going, it's been estimated they've been traveling at like 50 miles per hour, which is much slower than what a 737 or any kind of jet could be, which means you have to have something with some kind of a downward-facing turbines that allows them to navigate and turn over the air. And this is just another one of the videos that was taken from one of the many observers of this. And that's the one thing, Alan, about this that sets a lot of these different sightings out is when there's a massive sighting going over, or there's a sighting going over a big population. For once, we're actually getting a lot of decent videos because everybody has cell phones out there.
Yeah, and this is I really do believe in this case, given the. And it's interesting because they're saying, oh, that starts at 5 and ends at, I forget what hour, but it's precisely. So I look at that, okay, somebody's on the clock. Okay, somebody's work hour begins at 5 o'clock. Okay, we launch the first drones at 5, right after dark, and whatever sunrise is, 4:30 in the morning, we're going to stop at that time. But they're using the cover of darkness to hide something. And again, if I was to put my money on it, it's a false flag operation to gear up, feelings of anti-Chinese, anti-Russian feelings. It's not. I'm not sympathetic towards them. Not at all. I mean, they even threw Iran in the mix there with the hacking earlier this week, which again, Wendy Webb said, yeah, they're going to blame Iran. I go, yeah, not surprised. Here we go. And I think this is what they're leaning up to with this, because it's just, and it's interesting where they're doing it, because you have such so many military bases on the East Coast going way back to World War II, and this is a perfect place to do this type of operation, because you have so many support bases and you have so much technology and equipment and stuff. But I just don't believe it's the Chinese and the Russians. They're just not going to spend that kind of money. Contrary to popular belief, China is in a huge economic turndown. We talked about the United States people living paycheck to paycheck. So are the Chinese. And the average Chinese worker doesn't make near what we make. No. In fact, they're blaming their population turndown on they can't afford the bride payment to get married. And some of the cases I've heard, just like pitiful what they're doing economically. So are they going to waste their money to show their new drones?
I don't think so. No. Yeah. Now, talking about China and potentially Chinese drones itself, I've got some videos here. There have been videos like this coming across from Texas that Mike shared and reposted last night on Twitter, but I've seen it from Southern California and also from Argentina, where we're getting a bunch of different things that almost looks like Chinese lanterns. But the thing is, are we really looking at Chinese lanterns going on in all these different cities in mass numbers in one evening, or is it something more?
Yeah, I think we likely have a mix. It's interesting, and two things that I mentioned this in Texas that I was chatting with you about earlier today. And again, I'm just spitballing this and just throwing this out. There very well could be something to the prediction guy High prediction that there would be we'd be moving into this era of sci-fi. If you look at his prediction that he put, from the Trump Rogan interview at 39 days, we had this melee. If you actually look at the actual prediction, he didn't say, well, there'd be a war on that day. It simply says that we'd be entering an era of sci-fi, and it would lead eventually to a melee between UFOs and the military. Well, you look at it like, I don't know, but this kind of, you're seeing this all over the world. That's one thing that sparked my interest. The other thing, and that this reminded me of, this goes back a year to a Reddit post, the infamous 4chan thread, supposedly a whistleblower who was inside the programs, who was sharing answering all these questions, people online. And one guy asked the author, the 4chan guy, why are there so many different types of UFOs? And he said, well, how this works is they have a manufacturing base that manufactures these UFOs fit for purpose. They go out, they do their mission, they come back, and they're recycled. And I go, well, that's interesting. I don't know if it's true. I mean, that thread read like a sci-fi fan fiction, post, but it's an interesting idea because, over the decades I've been doing this, you can pretty much draw any shape and it's a UFO that's been seen somewhere at some point over the decades.
Yeah.
And you go like, why would you have so many? Now, in terrestrial aircraft, there are over 200,000 different types of terrestrial aircraft. So if you were to just put those on a poster, you would see all kinds of configurations as well. So maybe that's what we're looking at, that alien craft are just as diverse as terrestrial craft. But it was just two trains of thought that made me go, let me think about this. But again, my best speculation to the New Jersey, New York thing is it's some type of black flag operation.
Yeah, and this is just another view I've had up here for a little bit of a more of a higher resolution view. We've seen a lot of low resolution views coming from cell phones. This one is clearly coming from a higher end 35 millimeter camera, but you can definitely see what we're talking about here is craft that has structure. There's something there. We're seeing it from many different people coming into it. Now, I do have another news story coming in. If I could go ahead and play this for a moment. Sure. Coming from witnesses describe drones flying over New Jersey as loud and huge. Let's go ahead and play this clip.
It almost has a look of a drone invasion going on in New Jersey, but when it involves the New Jersey home of the President-elect of the United States, it does catch more attention than normal, even though this has been running rampant for weeks now throughout much of the Garden State. Nate Foy has more from Morristown, New Jersey. Hey, Nate.
Hey, Neil, so just within the past couple hours, local authorities put out an additional statement reiterating that there is no threat to public safety because of these drones. But we're speaking with witnesses who are concerned because, as you mentioned, they're flying near sensitive areas. But also, just in general, these drones, we're told, are bigger than drones you would typically see people flying for fun. In fact, one witness said they look like commercial military drones. Here's another witness describing what they look like.
This one is extremely low. It's loud.
It's really cute.
And it's huge.
It's so big. It looks so much closer in person.
Yeah, my camera doesn't do it. It looks like a spaceship.
So now the FBI is investigating with state and local authorities saying, quote, witnesses have spotted the cluster of what look to be drones and a possible fixed-wing aircraft. A witness tells Fox that he and his neighbors are confused and worried about where these drones are coming from. He said he lives about a 10-minute drive from President-elect Donald Trump's Bedminster Golf Club.
They seem to be going in circles, and on my property, I think it's the flight path to Trump Bedminster from the airport. So they seem to be circling around the property.
Neil, take a look at this. You see the drones have been spotted not just near Trump National Golf Club, but also the Picatinny Arsenal military base. And the FAA is banning flights over both locations as the investigation continues. So right now, the FBI and local authorities are asking people to send in videos and tips as they see additional drones, which we're expecting here shortly. We're told by local authorities that the busiest time of night is between 5 p.m. and 11 p.m. So the drones should be coming out here in about half an hour. We'll send it back to you, Neil.
Yeah, like you say, they can practically time it that way. Thank you very much for that, Nate Foy.
So, Alan, that brings us back to it again. The drones are clearly going ahead and trying to go ahead and keep away from these locations during the daytime, coming out under the veil of darkness, which means there's some nefarious operations clearly going on.
It's interesting. It's an 8-hour shift. You're talking 5 to 11. Okay, they probably have an hour off for lunch. It's really is that what that sounds suspicious just in that. It's not like, oh, they're there for an hour, then they're gone for 2, and they're back for 30 minutes, which is something you would expect. If you look back at all the UFO flaps over the decades, and there have been many, many like this, it lasted days and even weeks. They weren't predictable like that. They weren't coming at 5 and leaving at 11.
No.
They were off and on, very sporadic. Some nights you'd have a couple, some nights you'd have dozens, other nights you wouldn't have any. So again, that to me, indicates the hand of man involved in this. And like I said, if the military really, you had this many large aircraft that they had no responders, for the FAA or anything coming in, the risk to civil aviation would just be horrendous. It's not like nothing else is flying in the sky. You don't expect to see something like that if you're on a normal flight path, descending into an airport, or particularly small private craft. Because even today, a lot of small private craft don't fly with radios or anything. They just fly basically by the seat of their pants, and so they wouldn't even know anything was in the air until they hit it. So that stuff like this is just you can't let this type of stuff going on. And I think they're just hoping for an incident, really, because the fact that they're not doing anything, and again, I feel there are other actors complicit in this, because it's not just military or government assets that have access to radar data. The private universities have this. Even some hobbyists have equipment that can track stuff in the sky. And not to mention, why in the heck hasn't anyone turned some floodlight on these things? It's not like, again, that only the military has, high candle power floodlights and aircraft floodlights. I mean, I have a handheld floodlight that friggin' light something up 200 feet above my house. It would light it like they wouldn't need all those lights on the darn thing. That spotlight would light it way up to tell exactly what it was.
I have to agree with you on that, Alan. Absolutely. Yeah. Now, something else that's coming in on our new feed of what we're dealing with. This is something that's coming in from, I believe it's from Sequoia Park, California, that happened about 3 days ago, where they actually had the shape of some kind of a humanoid coming in. You may have seen this one. Let me go ahead and bring this up. It's
not a crossword.
Something that's been in the sky over Southern California that looks like some kind of a humanoid shape that's rotating on a regular basis. I did an extensive evaluation of this last night, and none of the views we're seeing of this particular entity are repeats or loops of it, but it's clearly there's something that's humanoid shaped that's in a rotating form that's just really interesting, to say the least. Your thoughts?
Well, we've had, a year ago, 2 years ago, we had the flying human form in the LA area. I did see, quote unquote, a human drone experimented with, just basically like a mannequin with a backpack. And I don't know if that was the thing they were flying, but if that was, you could fly that thing and you would think, yeah, it's a human flying. Looking at this picture here, my guess is that's some type of balloon or dirigible or something that's being mechanically flown up there. It doesn't pass that uncanny valley of something real. I could be wrong, but to me, I look at that, it looks very balloon-like.
It's balloon-like, but it's clearly has some human proportions of it, and it's rotating on a regular basis, meaning we're seeing it coming in from one side as we look along it. It just, there's a rotation that's there, but the rotation that's happening from it, there's illumination, there's other stuff going on, but it's again one of those things we're looking at, and you just have to say, is this from us or is this from something else?
Yeah, again, I was fascinated by the flying human a couple years ago. Not that I thought it was anything UAP related, but I thought, somebody's testing because there's so many new jetpacks coming out. I was very interested in that. I did a blog on Richard's page about a year ago.
You're talking about Richard Dolan. You're a regular guest on Richard Dolan. And it's wonderful to have you here as well, Alan. Thank you for coming in today.
It's my pleasure. It's my honor to be on your show. And we were talking about South American, these hoverboard guys who were coming in, cutting people's faces off. And I was explaining, I was involved with Red Bull was going to do this crazy show about flying jetpacks and stuff, and I was involved in that briefly. And I said, jetpacks are so dangerous to fly. There's been fewer people that have actually flown them successfully than walked on the moon. It's very, very dangerous. You get up about 2,000 feet. I mean, you better know what you're doing because you're going to come down hard if you don't know how to fly that thing. And so when I saw these manned, things in LA looked like a new jetpack design. Go somebody may be testing that or something. But then I found a site where they had built basically a very lightweight mannequin, basically just wire and clothing, and put a little quadcopter on the back and just 50, 60 feet in the air, you'd swear it was a flying person. And I go, that's most likely what they were flying out there in the harbor. If they have a backpack that could perform like that one did, that had that flight time, that'd be great. But this picture here, looking at this, my first impression is it's some type of balloon with some type of flight control, maybe a quadcopter or something, and they fly. Again, it's in broad daylight and it's white. Somebody, obviously it's going to be seen, and that's maybe why they flew it in broad daylight and you don't see it at night. I don't know. There's just people. The news captures so many things and highlights them, and you think, it's just happening here, it's just happening there. Ross said on his show the other night that in the last 2 weeks, he's got 30,000 videos of different UAPs across the world that he received the last 2 weeks.
Wow.
So you're like, oh my God, it's not just happening here. And even if you dismiss 90% of those, you still got like 3,000, high quality videos or, good video sightings. We've estimated, Richard and I are talked and stuff. We estimate about 50,000 good reports a year worldwide. And looking at that, okay, how many craft would that require, and comparatively to terrestrial craft? And we figure like maybe 100,000. And if you have 100,000 UAPs, how many people would you need to man those? Probably 3 or 4 per craft. So that's 400,000 people. Then you need a support team, another 4 or 5 people. So you maybe have anywhere between 400,000 to 1 million support staff, or 100,000 UAPs, if that's correct. And as I'm coming around to believe that if in fact there are UAP here and there are non-human intelligence, I do believe there are, that we're looking at really a soft colonization rather than just exploration at this point. At one time, I believe they're just here to explore and to experiment and to go their own way. But when you're talking about something that large a size, you're talking about soft colonization, similar to maybe what the Vikings were doing in North America, when they first landed. And they had little bases to repair ships and stuff. And they never took hold in North America that we know of, but they were laying the plans for doing it. I think maybe that's what we're seeing with the NIH now. And I don't believe, this is something, and I wrote about this too, because everyone goes, there's superior intelligence and they're so far advanced. They have fast ships. We don't know how smart they are. We don't even know if they built those things or where they got them. They might have been gifted to them. They might have crashed on their planet. They might have stolen them. We have no idea. Some people believe that the pilots of these ships aren't even the makers of the ships, that they're just made to pilot the ships. So we don't really know how smart they are. My guess is they're probably not that much smarter than us. In fact, we believe, many people theorize, that the ARVs were created maybe as early as the 50s, and that we might have this same technology, just keeping it in a black project. And there's suggestions, like the ARV show that was in the 70s era. I forget the guy's name, the artist, the aerospace artist that saw that, or his friend saw it, and Sorensen saw it and then told it to his friend who's worked for the aerospace magazines, and he published the story. And then that was in 77, and then in the 80s, you got Bob Lazar going like, yeah, we've got these crafts. So we might have the same craft. Maybe we're using maybe some rogue, military group is using them, or we're just using them in very deep black projects. But we're not that smart, we're not. So I don't know that these creatures are that so brilliant that they just would be able to shut us down. They might be just maybe 10 years, 50 years, even if they were 100 years advanced to us, that that would be significant, but I wouldn't attribute to them the deification that so many people do. We're treating them like the Incas and the Mayans treated the Spanish, like, oh, these are gods.
Oh, you look off on the horizon, you see the boats coming, you think it's the gods, and that's the same situation we're at. If we can, I've got a little clip here from the latest Need to Know podcast coming from Ross Colehart and Mr. Bruce Sable. Let me go ahead and play this little clip here talking about what's been going on in the skies.
Yeah, I think we are going to look back and we are going to say that the autumn of the drones was a turning point, because I know there's a lot happening behind the scenes that I can't talk about. I think this consistent sightings of drones over military facilities, I think I've done stories about it. You and I have talked about Langley and Eglin Air Force Base, and this has been going on now for months. The sighting of what we are told are drones over sensitive, super sensitive military facilities. It sounds like nothing at the moment, but I wager it's going to turn out to be enormous.
Which is sort of
right now.
It's a way of pivoting from 2024 to 25, because this seems to be ongoing.
I think 2024 in future will be seen, ironically, as the calm before the storm.
Wow.
I think very early in 2025, all hell is going to break loose. Watch.
You heard that here first, folks. I mean, to say all hell's going to break loose in early 2025, you don't get a lot of wiggle room on that one, Ross. By March of 2025, I'm going to be holding you accountable, saying, okay, you said, let's hear it.
Alan, and how do you feel about Ross's prediction of early 2025?
Well, I'll share something with you that I shared with Richard behind the scenes, and now that Jeremy and George have
Richard
talked
Dolan
about it,
so everyone knows, Yeah,
Richard Dolan. Now that Jeremy has talked about it, George talked about it, I'll talk about it too. There were other whistleblowers set to testify that morning. The paper, the 12-page paper, one page redacted, that was given to Nancy Mays was given to her by Jeremy, not by what's his name, the reporter Schellenberger. Wasn't given to her by
Michael Schellenberger, yes.
That was given to her by Jeremy Corbell, and there were two other whistleblowers that were set to testify. They were going to be surprise witnesses, and they refused to let them testify. Now, the excuse was that you have to get permission from the head of the Intelligence Select Committee, both in the Senate and the Congress. You have to get the written permission from the head of the Armed Services Committee, and you have to get written permission from the majority and minority speaker, both the Senate and the Congress, and only then can we let them speak. So we can't just pull these guys out and let them speak today. So there were two people that were going to speak that would have blown this thing wide open. These are hands-on person eyewitnesses, and they weren't allowed to. So I think that will change once the administration changes and they pull this red tape aside, because the president, all he has to do is go like, hey, I'm declassifying it, and all this written permission stuff, we don't need it anymore. So I was very frustrated that day, because I go like, oh my God, what the hell? Nothing happened in that hearing. And I knew what was supposed to happen, and it didn't happen. And, everybody goes, oh, God, and you want to be very careful, because you don't want to, rat anybody out or have anybody start looking for somebody. Oh, gee, they were supposed to speak that day. Who was there that didn't speak? Who was in the back rooms, and who was Corbell speaking to, and who was George talking to, and they checked the phones and everything.
Because apparently there were a bunch of firsthand whistleblowers that were brought forward by Jeremy Corbell that wanted to go ahead and actually testify that actually got sidelined. Mike, you're someone who is very involved in this situation. I guess Mike's not around. I thought he was.
Yeah, he was. I don't want to. I know how he was, and I don't want to share that, but he was very much involved. And
oh God, yeah.
Yeah, and we were all very disappointed that it didn't happen. In fact, I spoke about it on the download to people. Hey, yeah, this is going to be really good. This is, you'll see. I even shared it on Richard's show the day before that. Yeah, there's going to be something coming, and that egg on my face. That was very embarrassing. But that's the UFO UAP. I mean, how many times? I mean, over the years and years, you think, oh, we're there. This is going to break. This next story, this is going to be the thing. If you were told, if Grush would have came out in the 1970s and said what he said that last summer in 1977 or anywhere in that decade, we'd have a completely different conversation today. That would have been full disclosure. People would have been just, oh my God. But today it's not enough. And if you're waiting for an alien to shake your hand before you believe, you're going to be waiting a long time, because they're not going to let you shake an alien's hand. You're not, I mean, maybe they'll show you part of a, down craft, crumpled up piece of metal or something, but they're not going to show you the whole craft anymore. Than they're going to show you the latest spy, plane or send you plans for a nuclear trigger or something. It's classified. It's classified.
Bingo.
And it doesn't make any difference, that it's NHI related. You're not going to get to see it. I remember when they first released the first photograph of the B-2 bomber, they would only photograph it from the front, so you couldn't see its configuration.
Yeah.
And even at that time, it was near its end of use at that point. Like the F-117, the Iraq War was the end of that thing. I mean, it had been around for almost 30 years at that point. Yeah. So it's these things, if they've had them, and now we're going back further and further, maybe even before the the Second World War, that they've had these crafts.
I mean, Second World War, we had the Foo Fighters and everything else up there. It's not like our government has not been aware of this stuff since, the longest historic sighting we have in the United States, Alan, comes from the U.S. mail, where over 100 years ago we had U.S. mail being flown up to Alaska to go ahead and drop off the mail and being brought down and being pushed down by orbs that were flying around their craft. So it's something that's been here for the longest time, and it's something that we have to go ahead and react to and understand. For some areas, it's kind of realistic. Christian, you've had your hand up for a while, my friend. Go ahead. For Alan?
Yeah, I wanted to kind of speculate on what could be going on, because with these drones and all that. And as far as the hearings, man, that's like you said it. That's how the UFO topic goes, man. The Lucy and the football and the secrecy is so insane. I don't really know. It's always been like that. But as far as these drones, Lou Elizondo, I think, said something like that talking about the phenomena. I'm just trying to figure out when they started, these sightings. Because was it like right after the hearings? Did something big happen? I'm trying to basically put my tinfoil hat on and like speculate what could have triggered this. Because I know there was talks about like the reason we don't disclose or we don't want to disclose is just because talking about the phenomena will accelerate whatever's coming. Or was it something about like Russia wants, ICBMs into using ICBMs and maybe something with the nukes? I don't know. I'm really like, I'm just trying to figure out when this started, exactly when this started, and what could it cost that, man? Like
Alan,
something, if they're UFOs, right? If it could be what Alan said. I don't know, man. It's like
Alan,
makes sense.
I'd love to have you address this because I could go ahead and get into it, but I'd love to have you as our guest to come in and actually lead this.
Well, the incursions, you can go back to the Chinese spy balloon back in February when it first hit the paper. But is incursions over military bases new? No. Tim McMillan had a very good on that UFO podcast. Had a very good hour there, sharing. He's a writer for the Debrief, sharing all the many military incursions we've had, and I can attest to that it is a weekly occurrence that you have things flying over military bases, but you don't get the recognition. A lot of them are just people screwing up and flying their drones, because you have these aviation watchers that literally, when I lived in Tucson, Arizona, we have Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, and at the end of the runway, these guys would line up their lawn chairs, and they had their cameras, and back then they didn't have videotape back then, but they had these long lens 8mm cameras and movie projectors and stuff, and would just film the aircraft going out. They're just aviation enthusiasts. And today you've got aviation enthusiasts that are flying their stupid little drones when they're not supposed to over these areas and at airports and stuff. So you do have incursions. But the February Chinese balloon incursions were something different, and even the Pentagon kind of screwed the pooch when the Pentagon spokesman said, well, yeah, they could be UAPs. And I keyed in on that. A lot of people poo-pooed it, but there was the one that was shot down over Canada / Alaska area there, which was never, that we had the one Freedom of Information Act that said NORAD was involved in that, and they were covering it, and there was a lot of hoopla about it, but we never heard what happened. There's been no gun camera footage of that, so that looked to be some type of UAP type incident. But since then, there have been incursions over military bases all over the country, but the emphasis on the Ukrainian-Russian war and how good or bad that's going has been a touch point. You've seen in the last couple of months, NATO and the media ramping up the war rhetoric. We're in World War III. I don't know how many times I've seen that headline in the media, supposedly by NATO spokespersons. We're in World War III right now. They're sending out nuclear strike information to citizens. This is how to defend yourself if you're nuked, which is kiss your ass goodbye. And they're ramping this up. And again, you're seeing these incursions over nuclear bases and stuff. And I could see, and I was concerned about this after the hypersonic missile, because you can't defend against that hypersonic missile. And its kinetic energy is so great, you have a tactical nuke type explosion without the radiation. These people think of it as an explosive charge. It's not. It's actually metal rods that are fired at supersonic speed into the ground, and it just explodes with a kinetic force that's equivalent to like a tactical nuke. So there's no defense against that. And I speculated, if I was at the Pentagon, I would certainly be concerned about that, because that's going to get by all our air defenses. And maybe we need to strike it first. Maybe we need to strike those hypersonic launch sites first, or where they're manufacturing.
Because honestly, what we're seeing here, irrespective of hypersonics and all this different stuff, the technology that's been coming over unchallenged over New York, over New Jersey, and everywhere else is out of a completely different class than hypersonics, isn't it? We're talking about lower cost. We're talking about very effective technology where they can bring in and deliver any kind of payload, whether it's we're looking at stuff where it's an explosive ordnance or a biological ordnance to go ahead and deliver it to the specific location within the United States, right?
Yeah. And there's no way in the world that the military services would permit that. Absolutely not. No way in the world.
But they're allowing it right now, right?
That's why I believe this is a false flag. Because you'd have too many people.
We had the stuff being shot down over Dead Horse, Alaska, then over the Yukon. Then we tried to shoot it down over Maelstrom Air Force Base, and then over Lake Huron. And it was the Canadians who shot down the shit over Lake Huron, but only the Canadians have come forward on this. But the reality of it is, it was demonstrating an ability in the public view that said there's things that are coming within our domain of the United States that we can control. And that's what we're seeing today.
Well, this is not done in a vacuum. Like I said, you can't hide this from. There's too many people out there.
Millions of people, literally.
Yeah, not only seen it, but they have.
Yeah,
they're collecting data on it: radar data, signals data, radio emissions. We're all talking about radar, spinal on radar. Well, you can also pick up stuff like this on radio frequency as well. You just run it the radio spectrum, and if something's over your house 200 feet away, and you have a radio frequency finder, you can tell if that's emitting any radio frequencies, or something's communicating with it, or it's releasing some EMP or whatever, some type of modulation. And people are doing it. I guarantee you, people are out there. There's hobbyists and stuff out there, radio people and people that are radio astronomers and stuff they're all jazzed about this, looking at this. So if these were Chinese or Russian, we'd know right away. It's just, you would need a friggin' flotilla like Pearl Harbor to send out dozens and dozens every night, hours at a time. It's not so where these things go.
What we're talking about is a highly coordinated effort, right? Meaning there's a organization or something that's looking over this, that's in charge of the deployment, control, and
the silencing,
and pulling back of the drones from whatever they're doing to pull them back to where they are so they can go at it again and again. Because this is not something that just happened with one time. We're talking about stuff that's been going on for well over 3 weeks.
Well, let's just look at Homeland Security, who's supposed to be in charge of domestic physical security. The fusion centers, and I'm sure they're lit up right now with all kinds of information about this kind of stuff. You would get each morning a defensive brief for all these different sectors: agriculture, infrastructure, energy, blah, blah, blah. And what threats were there and what was reported and anything related, and if the FBI was investigating, whatever. You have 24 departments under the banner of Homeland Security. You couldn't operate a thing like this without telling people to shut up. Whatever you see, because I guarantee there's people that know what's going on right now, and they know it's
So what you're saying, there's a lot of people out there who are within social media or potentially from the deep state coming in telling everybody, don't talk about this stuff.
Well, I would just say on social media, I'd say people within these different departments that are in charge of this, because like here in the Bay Area, the FBI has an office on the San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge. Why? Because it's a huge target, and that is, the bridge itself is like a friggin' city, and it's protected, highly protected, and any threats against it, there's threats all the time. Someone's going to blow it up or run a ship into it or fly a plane into it, whatever. It's something like this were happening here in the Bay Area, man, the FBI would be involved, and apparently they are there on the East Coast, and Homeland Security would be involved, and you would you'd be asking, okay, what about Space Force? What are they seeing? What about, local base radar? What about airport radar? What about weather radar? You'd be going to all these different sources, getting all this information.
I hate to say this, Alan. I hate to bring this up, but this is pointing into the situation where we're in. Do you think in a transition from our current administration to our next administration that we're going to get more transparency?
Oh, yeah, I do, because the people I believe that are behind this will be leaving, or I think this is a last-ditch effort to either get more money over to the Eastern, theater, or to actually put the next administration in between a rock and a hard place.
Right.
Okay, and do a kind of Gulf of Tonkin thing, or something of that nature to spark a real all-out World War III, because they're certainly fighting it now throughout NATO, and all the heads of these different NATO countries going, yeah, we're going to send troops, yeah, we're going to send missiles, they're really looking to push this, and hey, the Chinese, they're all over the East Coast now, and the Russians.
Here's the thing: after January 20th, do you think this kind of stuff will continue to go on?
Well, it probably, until those people are replaced. I'll be interested to see. Right now, they haven't approved President Trump's. Tulsi isn't in office yet, and Pete isn't in office yet. Yeah. So until these guys, if and I'm hoping they do get in. I know they're controversial, but I think that's. I want someone controversial. I want someone who's going to kick over rice bowls, and I want these guys to pucker when they hear the name. I was just, he's a firebrand, Matt Gaetz. Oh, I wish he would have got in. Yeah. I mean, I would have, if I was President Trump, I would have waited until Easter and appoint him on recess just to wreak hell in that DOJ. They were scared to death that he was going to go in there and just. But
I mean, we've got John Ratcliffe. He used to be in charge of the office, the ODNI, National Intelligence, moving into the head of the CIA. That's a monumental step of someone who has been pro-disclosure for the longest time coming into a position to really make a change, because we've heard so many things about Langley, so many things about Lou walking around Langley and other areas where it's just like, wow, what's actually happening? How much is the CIA in charge of disclosure? And if they are, we've got someone who's jumping into that position who's a real advocate.
And also who's experienced in spycraft. This is an important thing. If people General Petraeus, when he was placed in charge of the CIA, I go like, great. Now, if I want battle strategy, I'll ask Petraeus. If I want spycraft, I'm not going to ask Petraeus. What does he know about it? Yeah. He doesn't know anything about the psychology or he didn't go through any academy or all this stuff. Yeah, no experience at all. He probably signed orders for different espionage things during his military experience, but it's not just, you can't just throw anybody in there.
No.
And
you
go
can't,
like,
and if I can,
understand.
Alan, really quick, I just got a message from the back coming in and breaking UFOs alert. Do us a favor, folks, if you're having a good time, enjoying Disclosure tonight, hit that subscribe button. We'd love to have you. At least 40% of you out there who are watching the show right now aren't subscribed. We'd love to have you as a regular here in Disclosure tonight. This is coming from Mr. Morris, our legal counsel in the background, Alan, who always gives us the best advice. So I want to encourage everybody to go ahead and like and subscribe. More importantly, if you haven't given us a thumbs up for this broadcast, give us one or the other, a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Why? Because that shows an interactivity coming from this podcast, and out of it allows YouTube to go ahead, if you got that algorithm thing out there, it allows us to go ahead and share our show to a lot more people, and we appreciate everyone's participation in this broadcast. I want to thank everybody. We still have 1,015 people watching the show as of the current thing right now, and we're at 481 likes. What are we doing wrong? We'd love to have you as a regular here at Disclosure tonight. Alan, I want to thank you for coming out. This has been a freaking smash conversation with you. I appreciate you jumping in last minute and talking about this, because this is something we've been talking about for a while, and you've got some really deep feelings about this.
Yeah, it's definitely the whole subject. UAP has just gone to the next level, coming into the end of the year. A lot of people during the last quarter were, nothing's going on, so boring, nothing's happening, same old thing. My God, this is mainstream now. Every day you're seeing all across media something about UAPs, UFOs, all this stuff. It's really ramping up, and people are really beginning to take notice and asking questions about, what is the government holding back? What's going on? And that will, I think, in the next administration, really bring this all to a head.
Yeah.
Too many people know now.
It's the will of the people, and the people have spoken. We've got someone there who's listening to the people, thank God, and hopefully we can go ahead and actually bring disclosure forward. We've had a lot of stuff going on the eastern coast of the United States. It could be something from, potentially, as Alan is saying, from the, if you want to call it, our existing administration trying to go ahead and try and get us freaked out that we're getting invaded. It could be from something else. You're not sure where it's at. But you know what? Time will tell, and I think it's going to be a great freaking step forward from my friend. If I could, I want to go ahead and thank everybody for coming out for this episode of Disclosure tonight. Holy cow. I want to thank everybody for your wonderful super chats tonight, and that includes Nigel. Thank you very much for starting off for super chats tonight. Rachel Osborne, followed by Crazy Horse, Shelly Montgomery, Firefly, and the Chromosome Cowboy. Thank you everybody for your love and support of everything we do here at Disclosure tonight. More importantly, I also want to go ahead and thank everybody who's been in our chat, because the chat is where it's at, and that's where a lot of our new subscribers are at. Let me go ahead and welcome everybody, thank everybody for coming out tonight. AJ, thank you for coming out, my friend. Hopefully, let's see if that's Heberlin. Andy W, you've been around for a while. Casey May, Corporal Abe, Crazy Horse. Deborah has been here along with Delta Echo, Digger Dog. Donald has been around along with Eli. Enigma has been here tonight. Thank you for coming out. Firefly, how I win the lottery, I guess it's a math thing. We'll figure that one out. Jason Brown, John's been here. Jonathan, Joseph, Kelly Broden, those piercing blue eyes. Thank you for coming out tonight, Kelly. Kimberline 68, great year if you ask me, my friend. King Bull, last of the finest. Liliana Tuna, Little Schism's been here along with Lord White, Matt McKay, Metal Gaming, all the way from Denmark, my friend. Let's thank Mr. 25th Fret. None of your business. A different none of your business, but it's none of your business. NVMe, great hard drives, forever first. Paul DeMond, Pete Liebel, Rachel Osborne, Rough Reddy. Will you look at that? Shelly Montgomery, Smurfy's been here. Is that Pafa or well, we'll get to that one, my friend. Steven's been here along with Strange, Tallywhacker. Two different people, my friend. Along with Terrence, the Chromosome Cowboy, the Mac Geek, Troy's, RC Tech. Good to see you. Trent, all good. Wildcat Mahone, Wingman 777, WMW, along with the Yankee 58. Alan, there's so many tongue twisters of new people hanging out with the show tonight. I appreciate you being here, my friend.
Oh, my pleasure.
Yeah. I also want to thank Andy. Thanks for coming out tonight. Corporal Abe, all the way.
Yeah, cheers, Thomas. It's been a really good show. It's great.
Yeah. Corporal Abe,
Great
thanks for coming out and hanging out with Alan and myself. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, guys. Happy holidays. Thanks
Look, it's light outside.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, I know, right? You guys were with me throughout the morning. I appreciate that.
Oh,
Thanks for
absolutely,
waking
my
up with
friend. Also want to thank Matt. Matt's no longer here, but Alan, thanks for coming out. Great show, great opportunity to hang out with friends.
Thanks. Have a great night, everyone.
Yeah, good night, everybody. As we usually say at the end of every episode of Disclosure tonight, eyes open, no fear, be safe, everyone, but...
Go back to Party City where you belong.
Absolutely. We'll catch you in the flip side. And everybody, come back now here. Take care. Bye-bye.